Home prices are crashing. Wait, no, I heard that home prices are rising. What's going on in this crazy real estate market? In order to dig into what's going on in housing, I've spent some time gathering data from the Zillow website. This is something I do regularly. By no means is Zillow my only source of data from the housing market, but it's the quickest available each month. This means I can deliver very timely market analysis for our viewers. After all, you want to know what's going on now, not what was fresh a month ago, right? We obtain housing data from numerous sources around the internet to provide a broad, unbiased view of housing market conditions. So if you've not seen my prior videos and think I'm giving credence to Zillow or its business model, you can be assured that it's just their turn in our reporting cycle. Today, Zillow serves up the data that exposes the poor reporting of the mainstream media on home prices and that conditions are not what they seem. This graph makes it clear that demand in the for sale market is declining. It reports Zillow's estimated number of unique properties sold each month. The blue bars plot the number of homes sold, while the yellow bars plot the year-over-year change in sales. When the yellow bars rise above the horizontal axis, unit sales have grown. When the yellow bars fall below the horizontal axis, unit sales have declined. Home sales through September show that for 13 straight months, home sales have declined in the U.S. This is non-seasonal information, as each month's change compares to the same month in the year prior. For example, the number of homes sold in September 2022 was 27% fewer than the number of homes sold in September last year. I don't think anybody would be surprised to discover why home sales are declining. This graph plots the average 30-year fixed mortgage interest rate since 1971, and the most recent months might shed some light on the decline in home sales. When I was preparing this graph in mid-October, I checked the Mortgage News Daily website, and it reported that the current rate was 7.16%, while the 1 year ago rate was 3.16%. Never before have mortgage interest rates moved so high, so fast. We've seen a 127% increase in mortgage interest rates in just 1 year. What's truly crazy is that despite the large leap in mortgage rates, today's rate remains below the 50-year average. Rising mortgage interest rates have cooled buyer demand, and viewers who remember the housing collapse in 2006 might be concerned that the supply of homes for sale is rising out of control. That happened in 2006 as builders were in full production mode while buyers were expelled from the market when the government changed lending requirements. Declining demand and rising supply created the bubble that sent home prices plummeting. The next few graphs will help us understand the similarities and differences between today's housing market versus what we experienced in 2006. In this graph, Zillow reports the number of unique listings active in each given month since the beginning of 2019. The blue field plots the number of listings, while the red line measures the year-over-year change in inventory. Look where the red line crosses the dashed blue line 2 months ago, as this is when the market shifted from inventory reduction to inventory growth. I've seen a lot of discussion about inventory growth, but the 1% rise in U.S. listings is an insignificant amount, considering how low the current supply of homes remains. There were more than 4 million listings during the housing bubble years, yet today we have barely more than 1 million homes on the market. One might expect the inventory to rise rapidly as sales have plummeted, but remember, when a buyer opts out of the market due to affordability, it often is a buyer who would also have a home to sell. Thus, a buyer leaving the market results in a seller leaving the market in roughly 50% of the cases. The move up and move down buyers have slowed, so inventory growth is not as many would expect. These next two graphs create a great perspective on the supply and demand for homes. Occasionally, I'll get feedback from a first-time viewer on our channel saying that my analysis was incomplete, missing an important data point that could change my conclusion. What new viewers don't understand is that I produce videos weekly, and I'm trying to keep my videos short, so each time I report on the housing market, I attempt to make it a standalone analysis, but in reality, it's a continuation of all the other evidence that I've provided in recent videos. So, please click the thumbs up like button and subscribe to our channel so that you understand the full picture and get all my new content when it is fresh. If you want to know what's going on in housing, to see and hear the data explained, to evaluate the facts and ignore the hype that is so prevalent online, then subscribe now and I'll keep you in the know. This graph plots the number of monthly listings for the past 4 years. It's a different view of the listings that sheds light on the volume reduction in inventory. The black line plots the number of listings that entered the market each month this year. Note that there are now slightly more listings than last year at this time. The number of homes for sale remains far lower than what was reported in the previous 2 years. It's important to remember that those years were inventory deficient as well. The inventory today is only slightly more than the all-time low recorded a few months ago. Today, the number of listings is 30% to 60% lower than in recent years, and all 4 years shown were sellers' markets, where the number of listings was far too few for the demand in the market. Demand will have to go far lower to create the supply and demand dynamic that will cause home prices to fall for an extended period of time. This graph plots the number of new listings entering the market each month for the past 4 years. Even as many national news media reports that home prices will crash and burn, we see the inventory drop. The only way we'll see major price declines is for supply to outrace demand, but this graph clearly shows that supply is dropping in line with demand. As of today, it's safe to report that there's no sign of growing supply problems. Instead, the lack of supply will put further pressure on home prices. If you want to know more about the current pipeline of new construction homes, I've included a link below that will take you to a great video that digs into builder production. This graph plots the median price at which homes across the U.S. were listed and sold. Note that both are rising, contrary to what the mainstream media has been reporting. The blue field shows the median list price, while the red line shows Zillow's estimate of the median home sales price during the same period. The blue field shows a seasonal pattern on the median list price, with prices starting low at the beginning of the year, moving higher during the summer, and then falling slightly towards the end of the year. Interestingly, we've not seen a decline yet in 2022. I'm seeing reports of list prices dropping. Where were those reports in each of the last 5 years when asking prices declined in the latter part of each year? Of course list prices are declining. It's October. This graph exposes 2 trends from home sellers. First, home prices generally rise, so it makes sense that end-of-year asking prices are higher than at the beginning of the year. Second, sellers who tried too high of an asking price earlier in the year end up dropping their prices to get sold before the end of the year. Remember, a homeowner can ask any price they like, but to get sold, they have to meet the market at the right price. The red line shows that there is no actual inter-year cycle for prices, they just generally rise. The red line has been rising faster of late, but the declining number of sales has flattened to where prices are growing at a more normal rate. The average home price growth over the past 80 years is 5.2% annually. This graph is Zillow's estimate of the median home price, measuring the typical home price for single-family homes, condominiums, and co-ops in the United States. It reflects the typical price of homes in the 35th to 65th percentile. In other words, it approximates the median by swiping the middle third of the market and analyzing it over time. If you look closely at this graph, you'll see that Zillow has reported home values from 2000 through September of next year because their data set includes past data plus a forecast that home values will rise 1.4% over the next 12 months. Just as a reference to how conservative Zillow's estimate has become, it estimated 17.3% annual growth back in January, and that was just 9 months ago. Zillow's Home Value Index provides a great perspective on the toxic decline in home affordability. When we compare the slope of home price growth over the past 2 years to the slope of the price growth during the housing bubble, it's an alarming image. One must remember, however, that the supply and demand dynamic for homes is the key driver for the change in home prices. Today's abysmally low supply of homes has caused home prices to soar, and as we see in our next graph, home prices are growing in 99.7% of the markets in Zillow's reports. This graph reports all U.S. markets where the year-over-year change in home prices grew by 25% or more. That's right, all of these cities are reporting home prices 25% or more above last September's prices. And before you go thinking that these are the exceptions to the rule, Zillow tells us that of the 894 cities reported by Zillow, 891 posted growth in home prices for the past 12 months. Only 3 markets reported declines. Boise City, Idaho, down 1.6%. Fairbanks, Alaska, down 6.6%. And Minot, North Dakota, down 7.8%. Overall, Zillow reports the year-over-year price change in the U.S. has risen 14.9% since September 2021. But I'm sure some of our viewers will want to say, that's not what I'm hearing elsewhere. So let's dig a little deeper into why we're seeing so many reports of falling home prices. This graph reports the U.S. markets where the month-over-month change in home prices was the highest, meaning it's comparing the median home price in each market for September versus August. Of the 893 cities reported by Zillow, 769, or 86.1%, posted growth in the home prices for the past month, while 124 markets, that's just 13.9%, reported declines. Perhaps this is why we're inundated with reports of declining home prices, but fewer than 1 in every 7 markets reported a monthly decline in September. If you've seen some of my recent reports on U.S. home prices, then you know that it is common for the median home price to stagger step higher throughout the year, or stagger step lower in a declining market. We really can't call price change trends after a few months because if we did, we would have reported declines in each of the past 5 years, and those were years when the median home price soared. The final graph in today's Zillow housing report explains while there's no housing bubble, the housing market is in worse shape than it was during the housing bubble years. It measures what Zillow refers to as the typical observed market rental rate and, like its home value index, takes a swipe from the middle of the market rents to approximate the median rental rate over time. The blue area measures the rental rate index each month, or the median rent, while the red line plots the year-over-year percentage change each month. It is this red line that is disturbing. As the inventory of homes for sale has declined, so has the inventory of homes for rent. People who must move today have no good choice between buying versus renting a home. The cost for each has exploded higher. In September, the median rental rate of $2,084 was nearly 11% higher than the median rental rate in September of 2021. Can you imagine if your monthly rent was increased from $1,900 to $2,100 a month? If the rate remains the same over the next year, the median unit will rent for $2,300 per month, a rent hike of more than $400 monthly in just 2 years. Here's what low inventory has done to the rental market. The slowly rising rental rate we observed from 2015 through 2021 has been replaced with an extreme growth trend where the median rent has risen 23% in just the past 18 months. Somebody paying $1,700 monthly in early 2021 is now paying $2,100 each month. Clearly, it's not just home prices that are soaring. The only good news to report on rents is that the growth rate is slowing, albeit to a double-digit rate. I often receive comments from viewers saying that they are waiting for home prices to fall. I certainly understand the feeling, but I have to wonder, where are they living while they're waiting? Are they waiting in a rental property where their lease renewal will be 11% higher this year after rising about the same last year? Or are they waiting in a home they own? If they're right and home prices drop, won't the home they own drop too? This means they'll sell cheaper to buy cheaper? So what's the point in waiting? That's the trouble with trying to time the housing market. Either way, you'll pay more. The fact that both rents and prices are moving higher together confirms that the supply of homes in the U.S. is insufficient to house our growing population. Overall, when supply is insufficient to fulfill demand, prices rise. Until we see a significant output from U.S. home builders, we should continue to anticipate rising prices and rising rents. There will be markets where the supply of homes outpaces demand, but overall, the U.S. housing market remains undersupplied. The previous graph is the smoking gun that lets us know just how toxic home affordability has become. When people get priced out of the for sale market, they can no longer turn to the for rent market, as they will be priced out of that too. Most people do not realize that when home prices crashed after the housing bubble, rents kept moving higher. The consensus in the market was that we had built too many homes, but the fact rents did not decline when the flood of homes moved to the rental market is ample evidence that the homes were needed. The government took away money for buyers, so many moved from the for sale market as buyers to the for rent market as tenants. Since the bubble burst, we've seen a significant slowdown in the number of residential units built to house our growing population. With the rise of NIMBYism, it has become very difficult to build and develop the shelter our growing population requires. Additionally, inflation has pushed the cost of new construction to a level where the median home buyer cannot be served. This means that while we need more homes, the majority of buyers can no longer afford the high cost of building new ones. The more that I read and the more that I study housing data from various sources, the more I am convinced we're rapidly heading towards a renter nation. In an industry where there has never been centralized control of home prices and rental rates, I am concerned that we'll begin to see home prices and rental rates dictated by Wall Street giants as they consume much of the inventory in the future. This should not be a surprise to anybody who has followed the growth of Amazon. Amazon has eaten up and spit out local businesses as it expanded its reach across numerous industries. The mom-and-pop businesses have struggled to stay alive, many of which have closed down. Is there any industry more mom-and-pop than housing? I fear 30 years from now, we'll look back and see the same fate has hit housing as some new Amazon controls the housing market in all but the least populated locales. If you feel like I'm overreacting or you have ideas for a different outcome, I welcome your comments below. If you want to see a video featuring the 7 critical steps in selling a home today, you can view it by clicking on the box in the top left corner of your screen. To see a popular video featuring my top 6 home selling tips, just click on the box below it. Please remember to like this video, check out the links below it, and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss anything.